Good afternoon. My name is Emeka Ugwuonye, and today is January 2nd, 2016. Yes, it is the new year. But I have an old question for you. And that question is simple. Do you think that the president of Nigeria should obey the order of Nigerian courts and release people whom the courts had ordered released? In this case, we are talking about Dasuki and Nnamdi Kanu. As you know, various courts on various occasions had ordered that these men be released. In the case of Dasuki, the court ordered that he be released on bail. In the case of Nnamdi Kanu, the court ordered that he be released unconditionally. In other words, the court said, let him go. The government of Nigeria refused to release these men. And people were talking about it. Nobody had idea exactly what the government had in mind. But 2 days ago, during the presidential media chat, the Nigerian president explained why he did not want to obey court order. The president surprisingly said, no, we cannot release those people because they will jump bail. But that was exactly what the court had decided in the opposite direction. The court had determined that they will not jump bail. The court had made the decision. So you don't need to be a lawyer. You don't even need to be a graduate to understand what is happening. You have Nigerian court on one side. You have the president of Nigeria on the other side. Who should obey whom? Should Nigerian president obey the courts? What is the implication of the Nigerian president not obeying the court? And remember, it's a question about bail. It's a question of who should get bail, who should not get bail. What are the conditions for bail? And under what circumstances should a person accused of a crime be granted bail? Nigerian court exercised its discretion, its powers that are founded in the Constitution of Nigeria, and granted bail. Nigerian president assumed powers and exercised powers he does not have and denied bail. It's a very simple proposition. The president of Nigeria has failed to obey the Constitution of Nigeria because the Constitution gave that power to the judiciary, not to the executive. This may look to you as a simple matter, but it is about the biggest problem in Nigeria today. It's no longer about Dasuki. It is no longer about Nnamdi Kanu. It's no longer about what they did. Listen, in my opinion, in my personal opinion, I really think that Dasuki did nasty things, but guess what? It's not about Dasuki. It is now about our president and our Constitution. Should the president obey the Constitution? Absolutely yes. If the president doesn't obey the Constitution, the consequences are grave. As I speak to you today, this matter was the subject or a topic on Washington Post in the United States. Here in the United States, it is the talk of Washington that the president of Nigeria refused to obey court order. I felt sad. I wish I could speak to the president. I wish I could have the opportunity to look the president of Nigeria in the eyes and say to him, Mr. President, you're wrong, sir. You're wrong. With due respect, you're wrong. Yes, there are things in the Constitution the president doesn't like. That is true all over the world. I'm sure there are things in the American Constitution that President Obama doesn't like. All presidents in the world, at some point or the other, come to a point where they don't like something in the Constitution. So President Buhari is not different for not liking a provision of the Nigerian Constitution. But there is something else. Irrespective of the fact that the president doesn't allow or like a provision in the Constitution, the president must comply. The president must obey the Constitution. So I'm going to say to my beloved Nigerian president, President Buhari, sir, You got to obey the Constitution. It's important you obey the Constitution, sir, because without the Constitution, there is no government. Without the Constitution, you don't have a right to be president. Without the Constitution, there is no country. It is the Constitution that created your office. It is the Constitution that gave you all the powers. It is the Constitution that made it possible for you to hold presidential media charge. If you turn against that Constitution, Mr. President, you turn against your country. It is the biggest betrayal any president could ever commit. To turn against the Constitution that created him, I think that the president of Nigeria was not properly advised. Those who advised the president made big mistake. They ignored the critical thing. They must tell the president of Nigeria that whether he likes it or not, he must always obey the Constitution and he must obey all provisions of the Constitution. He cannot choose to obey some part and ignore some part. I say this out of love and respect for the president of Nigeria. I say this out of love and respect for my country, Nigeria. Mr. President, you got to obey the Constitution. If you don't like the Constitution, Mr. President, there is a procedure to move towards an amendment of the Constitution. The people of Nigeria came and trusted you. They trusted their lives to you. If you disobey their Constitution, sir, you betrayed that solemn trust. It's not too late, Mr. President. We all make mistakes. Human beings make mistakes. Presidents also make mistakes. You made a big mistake, Mr. President, when you said you would not obey the court. You should. Thank you, Mr. President, and Happy New Year. And for all of you, Nigerians, you must understand that our president has no choice but to obey the Constitution. And we must continue to support this president irrespective of any single mistake. All presidents make mistakes. Nigeria is a mistake-prone country. President Buhari has our support and our love. And out of that love, we tell him he must obey the Constitution. He's got no choice. Thank you and goodbye.